Know what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In these last couple of weeks, there's just been contract after contract after contract, and a couple of these contracts are absolute steals. So I kind of wanted to do a positive video, just glaze every single team and give you what I think is every single team's best contract based on it going forward. Not the overall duration of the deal, but how many years left does it have? What's the AAV? What's the caliber of player? So yeah, let's get into it. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to go division by division, and we are going to start with the Atlantic Division, and we're going to start with the deal that was signed today. Lane Hutson, 8 years, $8.85 million. When looking at this, I fully expected it to be like 9.5, Noah Dobson's number, to like 10.25 maybe. And even that still arguably would have been their best contract in a fantastic contract when you have a 21-year-old defenseman that set the all-time rookie assist record. So the fact that it's below $9 million, below Jackson Lacombe, who might be the Anaheim Ducks pick, as well as Luke Hughes, amazing deal. You could argue that maybe Nick Suzuki's the best one just because he has a longer track record, 5 years, $7.875 million. But I think especially considering Hudson's doesn't even kick in until the 2026, 2027 season. So you get that cap hit percentage even lower. It's awesome. Like worst case scenario, he's a 60-point solid offensive defenseman, top pair. Like that's going to be well worth 8.85. And there's a realistic shot that this guy is contending for Norris trophies and putting up 85 points in a season. So I think that is the pick for the Montreal Canadiens. Sticking in Canada, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to go with Matthew Knies' 6-year deal at $7.75 million. You could argue John Tavares at 4 years, 4.38, but he is kind of getting up there in age. What is he, like 35 years old at this point? So I'm going with Matthew Knies. I would have thought on a 6 or 7 year deal for Matthew Knies, it would have been $8.75 million. So the fact that they got this 6'3" tank that shows up in the playoffs and put up nearly like 30 and 30 last season, below $8 million for the foreseeable future. It's just an awesome deal by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ottawa Senators, one of the best deals in the entire NHL is Jake Sanderson's 7-year deal at $8.05 million. There was a lot of question marks and criticism around this deal when it was signed. I defended it from the very start. Jake Sanderson went, 5th overall in the 2020 draft, and he just built every single season. Right off rip, he was a good guy that handled 21 to 22 minutes a night both ways of the ice, and last year had 57 points and got Norris votes. I think he's going to be a top 10 defenseman throughout his prime and maybe even sniffing top 5. So to get him locked up at 8.05 is absolutely ridiculous. The Buffalo Sabres, Tage Thompson, 5 years, $7.14 million. Their 1 7x7 worked out with Tage Thompson, or was an 8x7. The other one with Dylan Cousins, not quite as well. But when looking at Tage Thompson, yeah, he's one of the best goal scoring centers in the NHL. And especially defensively, the way that he's developed in recent years has turned him into a top 8 to 14 center in the NHL. And he's making like low-end second-line center money at this point. So I think it's pretty easily Buffalo's best contract. Lucas Raymond for the Detroit Red Wings. You could argue Moritz Seider just because the number one defenseman is more valuable than a number one winger. But considering the fact Raymond makes about $500,000 less and has that extra year, Seider's deal was only 7 years. Raymond's deal was 8 years. I think I'm going to go with Lucas Raymond, who last year was a point-per-game winger on not that good of a team. So, yeah, I think Lucas Raymond going forward is going to be like an $11 to $13 million player in a couple of seasons. So, amazing value by Steve Yzerman there. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 7 years, $6.5 million to Mr. Brandon Hagel that had 35 goals, 55 assists, 90 points last year without scoring a single power play goal. And he turned 27 years old like a month ago. They have a bunch of very good deals. Nikita Kucherov has 2 years left at 9.5. But just with that term, I think Hagel and his age being younger is amazing. And he plays with like Anthony Cirelli is a very good player, but he plays with Anthony Cirelli and whoever the hell they have on that second line. And he was that hyper productive. Brandon Hagel, he's finally starting to get his respect. But yeah, his contract is amazing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Florida Panthers, Gustav Forsling, 7 years, 5.75. Another team that you can list like 4 different contracts, and I wouldn't call you crazy. Whether it's Barkov, obviously him tearing his ACL kind of lost this season, but he has 5 or 6 years left at $10 million. Kachuk has like 6 seasons at 9.5. Sam Reinhart, 7 years, 8.6. Anton Lundell's like 4 or 5 years at $5 million. But Forsling has cemented himself in that top 11 to 20 defenseman in the NHL, one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. So he gets my pick there. And then lastly, for the Atlantic Division, David Pastrnak is clearly the best contract for the Boston Bruins. 6 years, $11.25 million. He has genuinely carried the Bruins offense in back-to-back-to-back seasons, putting up north of 100 points. And it's looking like he's doing it yet again, having 4 points in 3 games to start this season. The Pacific Division, I'm going to start a little bit controversial. I'm going to go with Leon Draisaitl's 8-year deal at $12 million. Now, of course, given the context, the negotiating, you could say Connor McDavid, there wasn't much negotiating, but like given the context, yes, McDavid's is just like crazier in terms of value. But when you factor in that Draisaitl's an 8-year deal, McDavid's combined deal is 3 years, 12.5. I will go with Draisaitl's 8 years at 14 because I think we can agree McDavid, if they win a Stanley Cup, that boy is cashing in, and rightfully so. He's taking his 8 by 20. So I'm going with Draisaitl, a top 3 player in the NHL that has also been fantastic basically every single year in the playoffs. And you have him for the rest of his career basically for the Edmonton Oilers. And I don't think that he's going to fall off much in those final years. And with the cap going up, absolutely insane value for the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, it was signed before those salary cap announcements, but it has really just turned into probably a top 5 deal in the NHL. If I'm going to be honest, Jackson Lacombe, 8 years, $9 million for the Anaheim Ducks. They don't really have that many long-term deals outside of him, Dostal, and Troy Terry. I like Terry and Dostal's deals, but I think Jackson Lacombe, considering how good he was after the Cam Fowler trade, 37 points in 55 games, some of the best micro stats that you'll see in your life, I think he has real potential, and especially like Elaine Hudson, his deal doesn't kick in this season. It kicks in 2026, 2027. He's still only 23 or 24 years old. He has a chance to be a top 15 to 20 defenseman in the NHL, and that'll be amazing value for the Anaheim Ducks. The Vegas Golden Knights, Jack Eichel's recent 8-year, $13.5 million contract. You could argue Tomas Hertl, 5 years at like 6.7, considering the San Jose Sharks retained some money, is also a fantastic deal. But just locking up your franchise top 15 player in the NHL for basically the rest of his prime at 8 years, 13.5. Very, very good value there. The Vancouver Canucks, 2 years, $7.85 million for Mr. Quinn Hughes, a top 2 defenseman in the NHL for like soon to be number 3 money is absolutely ridiculous. The Calgary Flames, the recently signed Dustin Wolf 7-year deal at 7.5, like Lacombe, like Hudson, doesn't kick in until the 2026-2027 season. And I think based on the track record and resume of Dustin Wolf, I think it's safe to assume that he's at least going to be a solid starter on this deal. And that's going to be low-end starter money going forward at $7.5 million. And he has a legit shot to be a consistent top 5 goalie in the NHL. The Los Angeles Kings, Quinton Byfield, 4 years, $6.25 million. I've been saying it a lot. I think the breakout is going to happen. And even if the breakout doesn't happen, this guy has been back-to-back 55-point seasons, where he had 54, then 55, I think. So even if he's like doesn't take huge steps, still, to get that at $6.25 million, he's only 23 years old, is very, very good value. The Seattle Kraken, 2 years, $5 million for Mr. Jared McCann. He scored 40 in his career in Seattle in that 2020-2023 season. Yeah, that's when they made the playoffs, as well as just being a consistent like 30 and 30 guy basically throughout his Seattle career. And then finishing off the Pacific Division, the San Jose Sharks. I wish they got him for longer, but it's still an awesome deal. William Eklund, I almost said Victor Eklund for a second. William Eklund, 3 years, $5.6 million. Doesn't kick in until 2026, 2027, but already last year at like 21 years old, the dude had 58 points in 77 games. And he's going to be riding shotgun with either Macklin Celebrini or Michael Misa, and probably going to be an $8 to $9 million player during that contract. Next up, the Central Division, Frank Nazar, 7-year deal at $6.6 million. I definitely saw the vision with this contract. It's already looking great, and it doesn't kick in until 2026, 2027. He was by far their best player when I watched the game against the Florida Panthers. He has 5 points in 3 games. Amazing, amazing value for once it kicks in, like third-line center money. Great job by Kyle Davidson. You also have the Alex Vlasic contract, but I think we can agree Frank Nazar definitely has the higher ceiling. Nathan McKinnon, 6 years, $12.6 million. I remember there was so much commotion around this contract when it was signed, when he got paid more than Connor McDavid. Oh my God. Now, in my opinion, I think it is the best contract in the NHL. 6 years for the second best player in the entire NHL. Yes, he is. He's going to be turning 30, I think, this year, or just recently turned 30 or 29. But still, Nathan McKinnon, much like these all-time greats, is going to age fantastic, and he's going to be whatever, like the max that you could give the 20% of the salary cap. basically throughout this deal, similarly to a Leon Draisaitl, similarly to a Connor McDavid. Dylan Guenther for the Utah Mammoth, 8 years, 7.14. Another deal that I absolutely loved in the moment. The track record wasn't there, but I love this guy as a prospect. Dominated WHL, dominated the AHL, and I think he's going to hit like 35 goals this season on the first year of this deal at $7.4 million. Last year, he had 27 goals, 33 assists, 60 points in 70 games. Just such a good shot. And the fact that the Mammoth got this locked up, because now apparently Logan Cooley's playing hardball, wants north of $9.6 million, which is understandable. Thank God that they got Dylan Guenther locked up, because if they waited until last summer or this most recent summer and he was still unsigned, we'd be talking about an 8-year deal at 8.75, maybe even $9 million, because he was so good for them last year and is going to be so good for them going forward. The Nashville Predators, Philip Forsberg, 5 years, $8.5 million. He had 48 goals, 46 assists, and 94 points in 2024 when they made the playoffs. It was like a sneaky Hart candidate. And last year, even on a dog shit Nashville Predators team, still had 31 goals and 76 points. The Dallas Stars, a bunch of contracts you can pick here. You can go with the Johnston deal. You can go with the Ottinger deal. You can go with the Rantanen deal. But I ended up going with the Miro Heiskanen deal, 4 years at $8.45 million for a top 4 to 8 defenseman in the NHL when healthy, one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. The Minnesota Wild, pretty easy here. Matthew Boldy, 5 years, $7 million to start this season. Him and Kirill Kaprizov have been absolutely cooking. He has 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 2 games, and is so damn good defensively. If he were to sign a contract, if he was a pending RFA right now, he'd get 8 years, a 10.5, $11 million or something like that. The St. Louis Blues, 6 years, $8.125 million for Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas, that has been over a point per game the last 2 years, is one of the best passers and playmakers in the NHL. My God, we're going rapid fire on this. And then Connor Hellebuck, the last one for the Central Division, 6 years, $8.5 million. Not an $8.5 million player in the playoffs, but in the regular season, been without a doubt the best goalie in the NHL the last 2 years, probably the last 6 or 7 regular seasons. So when looking at him, that is fantastic, fantastic value. And I expect him to age very good, even though he is already 31 and 32. We're moving on to the Metro Division to finish this out. Seth Jarvis, 7 years, $7.42 million for already one of the best two-way wingers in the NHL. Last year, 67 points in 71 games. This year, probably going to be sniffing with point per game. He is absolutely awesome. This was an insane deal in the moment that only looks better. Next up, for the Columbus Blue Jackets, it's between Kent Johnson's 2-year deal at $1.8 million and Marchenko's 2-year deal at $3.85 million. I'm going to go with Marchenko, who hit 70 points last year. Adam Fox, who's going to win the Norris this season, 4 years at $9.5 million. For my opinion, a top 5 defenseman in the NHL is crazy in the middle of his prime. Sidney Crosby, obviously on this list, 2 years, $8.7 million for a guy that is still a top 15 player in the NHL, despite his age. The Philadelphia Flyers was a tough one. I ended up going with Noah Cates, 4 years, $4 million. 37 points last year, has been really good defensively throughout his career. And to start this year, has 2 points in 2 games, playing around 17 minutes a night. Just a low-end second-line center, making only $4 million. It's only 26 years old. It's pretty damn good value for the Philadelphia Flyers. Obviously, with this, no ELCs. I should have said that at the start, but I think that's kind of self-explanatory. So Noah Cates, Mitchkov would obviously 2 years on an ELC would be their best contract. Next up, we have another Hughes brother on the list. I'm going with Luke. No, I'm kidding, obviously. It's Jack Hughes, 5 years, $8 million with the New Jersey Devils. He needs to stay healthy for a full season, but when he is healthy for a full season, he's a $13-14 million player right now, only entering his prime. Got to stay healthy, though. And then we have our final 2. For my New York Islanders, I ended up going with Matt Barzal. You can go with Sorokin, but he has been a little bit inconsistent the last 2 years. So I ended up going with Matty B, 6 years, $9.15 million. When he is fully healthy, when he's actually playing with some talent like he did in 2023, 2024, in my opinion, he is a point-per-game player on most teams. He'd be a point-per-game player, one of the best possession players in the NHL, one of the best skaters in the NHL, and I still think that he's well worth $9.15 million. And then lastly, to finish it out, Alexei Protas for the Washington Capitals. 4 years, $3.375 million. They signed this back in like January of 2024 before the real breakout, which was 30 goals last year, 36 assists, 66 points. And to start this year, he has 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points in 3 games, 6'5", like 240 pounds, skilled beast. The skating has really developed in recent years, and it's one of the best value contracts in the NHL. But let me know in the comments. Yeah, that was just like a rapid fire glaze sesh on every single team. Let me know if there's any other players' contracts that you would pick instead of the ones that I went with. Maybe I'll end up doing this for worse contracts when like a really bad contract gets signed, but there really hasn't been anything bad. Like the worst one recently is the Kaprizov deal, which we've talked about at length. Like they had to do it. They had to give him $17 million. But yeah, despite the salary cap going up, some of these guys are signing extremely team friendly deals. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this. I'll be seeing the next one. Peace.